Yeah, I was just actually wanting to, first of all, thank you for actually posting a video like this because it actually brings a lot of insight to what's going on in the minds of, most black women, professional black women, and what, just pretty much their way of thinking. If I actually had a title to actually put to this, of course, in response to what you made, it would be pretty much women in the position of authority. Um, when I actually heard about this story and actually, did a little research and what have you, you brought up a lot of good, interesting, points in your video as far as the differences. You were like kind of comparing and contrasting between the attitudes of black and white women as far as how they conduct themselves in the workplace, in respect to their superiors or whatever the case may be. You know, it's kind of hard, and it's not really a good thing to try to bring the race issue in with this. But with this, you can't help but do so because again, race does play really a crucial factor as far as how most black women handle and conduct themselves in the workplace. Now, my background, of course, I worked around a lot of women, and stuff like that, and I was in the military, and of course I got an honorable discharge, got out in the military, and worked in the private sector. And for the most part, what I tend to do is from a black male point of view. I try not to really say anything to anybody, especially when I'm just meeting people for the first time, because number one, you can say anything with your mouth, but what really determines who you are is your actions. That's in my opinion. And usually, of course, corporate scandals go around, office gossip go around, who's sleeping with who, who's talking with who, that type of thing. With me, honestly, I mean, especially if you're new to a company or whatever, I tend to not try to get involved with those type of things because number one is nothing but, all it does is, you know, create separation within the workplace. Now, with that being said, now what you do, and how you choose to move ahead in the corporate world is totally up to you. But one thing about it is that I've been taught morals, and really, and honestly, you were on point for the most part in what you said in your video, as far as how white women and black women keep their business, or how they, or the lack thereof of keeping their business to themselves, as far as how they interact with the person of the opposite sex. Now, for most black women, like I say, I can only speak from my experience because of my work history. They are quick to sit there and chat about what they did last night, with whom they did it with. They went out, this, that, and the other, and this, whatever the case may be. With me, I'm always aware of gossip. And see, one thing about it is that gossip is really brought into the workplace really because, first of all, the person feels that they don't have that much self-worth. And the only way they can get attention is to, of course, bring attention to themselves by broadcasting what they may have done, with someone or whatever the case may be. If that's their way of getting attention, fine. I'm not going to sit there and berate them and belittle them because, of course, that's the way they feel they need to get attention. But there are certain things that people don't need to broadcast or, let others find out about, as far as what goes on in the bedroom, the type of people they're dating, and this, that, and the other. I mean, if that's your case, if that's what they want to talk about on a professional level, then let them sit there and talk about that stuff by themselves and with themselves, because that is certain things that really could bring like liability issues and legal issues in the workplace, and and it could actually result in a lawsuit being filed, all because someone couldn't keep their mouth closed about what they did and who they did it with. One thing that you have to understand is that, and it's my opinion, and I've seen it so much before, is that most black men, I guess they don't tend to stay with a black woman, I guess a professional black woman, for the simple fact of the attitude adjustment type thing. Now, I'm all about being humble because number one, I came into this world with nothing, and that's the way that it's going to happen once God decides to call me home. And I'll leave it at that. But usually with most men, now I'll say this, with most men and women, now when men move up the corporate ladder, there could be a bit of arrogance there. You're being exposed to things, you're allowed certain privileges that you didn't once have. But for the most part, we tend to, for the most part, keep our business to ourselves. We don't go out and blast and let everybody know what we're doing, who we're sleeping around with, you know, how many women we did or whatever the case may be. And if you do so, it's done outside of the office environment, like at your home when you're drinking beer with the buddies, this, that, and the other. With women, it's kind of a bit different. First of all, of course, you know, the arrogance come in there, but yet still this is like on a greater scale, because number one, it's like they don't want to associate with the people that they once knew who may have helped them climb to that, you know, that prospective place where they're at in their employment. And to the point, it gets to the point where, you know, you become narcissistic. They become, you know, to the point where they no longer want to affiliate themselves with, quote unquote, the lower people. It's like their whole attitudes, their whole lives have changed just because they've gotten to the point where they've gotten a little more responsibility, or I should say a position of power. And like I say, I hate to say that, because number one, and the sad part about it, I'm not speaking to everywhere else, but I've seen marriages being broke up behind this type of stuff. And that really is uncool, because number one, you know, your job shouldn't change who you are as a person. Your level or your position of authority shouldn't change as who you are as a person. Yeah, there are certain more requirements there. There may be more that's required of you in your job, but that shouldn't dictate how you portray yourself and how you communicate with people. Because with me, as I move up the corporate ladder, I'm still the same person. Yes, the responsibility and the workload may be greater and the pockets might get a little fatter, but yet still, that doesn't stop me from being humble and, you know, stop me from being the person that I know I am before I got the position. Now, as far as relating it back to this case here, where this woman did this type of unspeakable act, you know, it's sad, because, you know, again, it's like you're playing Russian roulette with your professional career. And really, right now, the way the economy is going, and, you know, and the way that blacks have the highest rate of unemployment right now, you know, that wouldn't be something that I would really even think of doing, even if I had the chance to get away with it. See, one thing about it goes back to that mindset again of, you know, I have this power, so guess what? And since I think I have somebody that got my back, I can get away with what I'm about to do. And see, some people may be able to get away with it, and then again, some people don't. Speaking as a black person, this doesn't have anything to do with male or female, but speaking as a black person, period. When God opened those doors and allowed you to attain that position of authority and prestige, that is something to be thankful for, and not to be abused at any means or at all costs. I mean, because number one, everybody is not able. And then for you to turn around and disrespect not only yourself as a human being, but disrespect your race and do that unspeakable act, I mean, like I say, that type of stuff is gonna be expounded and blown upon. It's gonna be, you know, measured and tumbled and talked about all over the United States. And I mean, maybe even overseas too, because YouTube is global now. But, you know, we have to be conscious of what we do when we get into positions of authority, thinking that they have somebody that got their back, and that what you do is going to all be, or is going to remain on the hush hush. And see, one thing about it, and I hate to say this, you know, and I really do hate to say this, but going back to when I watched the Jeffersons, how George Jefferson, you know, the person who actually has his own cleaning store business and franchise, his attitudes towards women is that it's not only, he said it, and I quote, he said it's not only bad for a woman to be the boss, but they have to be bossy. I didn't really agree with that statement so much, but now, I mean, I see that he has a point. I'm not saying that a woman shouldn't be in a position of power or shouldn't be a boss, but the fact about it, they taking this bossiness and this arrogance and this type of stuff, and then they're actually abusing that power. Not to say that men don't do it, but they're using it in such ways and destructive ways to try to think that they can do things and get away with it. Men may be a little bit more subtle with theirs. They can do it and pretty much get away with it, and to speak, as long as they keep their mouth shut. But see, with a typical black woman, or should I say most black women, not all black women, they'll do their stuff, but yet still they feel that it was so beautifully done that they have to go and tell somebody else about it. And that's where, you know, you get into, you know, issues of, you know, the legal circumstances, and next thing you know, lawsuits are being filed and this, that, and the other. But that's my take on the whole situation, you know, and like I say, you know, feel free to comment, you know, and you have a good day.